for me, I had faith the size of a mustard seed when I started. And I always loved that. Even before I knew Pajama Program was in my future, it really just came back to me, one day while I was doing this and I was afraid, and I remembered just a little faith, just have a little faith to start. And boy, has it grown.
Hey there, I'm Victoria, a certified Christian life coach, author, motivational speaker, and university educator, and I am obsessed with helping you navigate through life's ups and downs so that you can live day by day in God's peace despite the many external demands on your time and energy. The Choose to Think Inspirational podcast is about the delicate dance between God transforming you from the inside out and your personal responsibility for change, maturity, and refinement as a Christ follower. On the show, I'll help you connect the dots between your faith and your life in practical, meaningful ways while giving God room to do what only He can do, and so that you can shine your light for Christ and be better equipped to serve your family and help others around you. You can change every area of your life, one thought at a time. Welcome back to the Choose to Think Inspirational podcast, Brain Changer. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Choose to Think Inspirational podcast. Genevieve Piturro led a successful career as a television marketing executive in New York City for 20 years when a little girl's question, "What are pajamas?" changed the course of her life forever. And you're going to tune in and find out exactly why. Because at that pivotal moment, Genevieve decided to jump off the corporate ladder, and she began delivering pajamas and books to children in shelters. In 2001, she founded Pajama Program. Genevieve published Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas in August of 2020 about her transformation from the corporate life to starting a nonprofit. An international speaker, consultant, and author, Genevieve Piturro has made it her mission to inspire men and women across the globe to listen to their heart and pursue their passions. Through her new venture, Genevieve Piturro LLC, Genevieve is available for speaking engagements and as a consultant to inspire others who are looking to change direction in their lives and, quote, find their PJs. I love that. You know, she's been interviewed on Today, Oprah, GMA, The Early Show, CNN, Fox and Friends, O Magazine, Forbes, and The Wall Street Journal. On behalf of Pajama Program, she rang the NASDAQ stock market opening bell in 2016. That sounds pretty cool. She has been the recipient of many local and national awards. A Yonkers, New York native, Genevieve received a BA from Fordham University, and she lives in Irvington, New York with her husband, Demo. She has now since parted with the Pajamas program, but she remains connected with that organization and regularly shares the founding story of the Pajama program on all her speaking tours. Her 2 books, and I want you to pick those up. You can get them on Amazon, and I'm going to put the links in the show notes, so just click that link. The first one is Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, How to Transform Your Life, Embrace the Human Connection, and Lead with Meaning, is a powerful and inspiring guide to help you overcome struggles and begin a journey into a transformative leadership role. Her second book about purpose, passion, and Moxie is her personal account of how to overcome fear, doubt, and limited resources to make the leap and set up a nonprofit. Is that ringing a bell or enticing to anyone who's listening or watching this? Starting a nonprofit when your heart is nudging you to take action. And I really enjoyed this chat with her that you're going to hear in just a second. She's very delightful. She's very humble and even speaks very transparently about some of the difficulties she experienced in launching this whole thing. And I love how she spoke frankly about some of the challenges that she had, especially when she was juggling, because she was so successful working in the corporate America, yet she was trying to do something philanthropic that was demanding so much of her time and energy. The friction that was there is quite apparent, and I want you to stay tuned so you can hear how her story unravels and then support her mission. And if you have something going on in your heart right now and you feel like, wow, I want to take that next step with God leading and God at the helm, Genevieve is going to be a great resource for you. I want you to visit her website, see what she has to offer there. And you might want to connect with her later to kind of be that person who's speaking life into your life and who's speaking a yes, can do kind of attitude, those words, that mindset, transferring the fire, if you will, into your heart and mind so that you can think, wow, with God and with a lot of moxie or the courage that God can give you, yes, with those, I can step forward here. And of course, counsel is always good in all of that. And she's got lots to share. So thank you for tuning in. And without further ado, here is Genevieve Piturro. Welcome to the show, Genevieve. We're so happy to have you.
I'm thrilled to be part of this conversation with you.
Yay. And, I think it's going to be so fun and upbeat. And as everyone already knows a little bit about your beginnings and your ministry and the books you've written, I just would love you to share with everyone, how did you kind of get here where you are right now in your life? And just kind of take us back, roll it back a little bit and tell us the whole story. We'd love to hear.
Sure. Well, I'm the first of four in a very Italian family. My father off the boat. And I know that, he didn't always say it, but he and my mom both expected me to get married and have children. And I had it in my head, because I've learned my heart had a different path. So at the time, I had it in my head to be a corporate executive. I wanted to be a woman in a man's world and do, what other women were doing and leading the way. So I followed that path. And I worked in New York City in the TV business behind the scenes in marketing for 12 years. And it was a workaholic, crazy life. I was single and I did enjoy it. It was exciting. I had a lot of fun experiences and things. But one day I heard a voice, now is when I say my heart speaking up, and it asked me quietly, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And that's when I stopped and I said, oh my goodness, where has that voice been? What is that voice trying to tell me? And I thought, right away, I realized, what, mom and dad were talking about our family traditions and the values. And while I still hold them dear, I went a different way. And maybe there was something to my having my own family that I missed. So I thought, how can I bring children into my life in some way with this busy workaholic life I had? So I started reading in emergency shelters because I had seen, as we all see, sadly, some children are not cared for well.
Right.
And sometimes they're removed for those reasons. And I saw a particular case recently that broke my heart with a little boy. And I called the police and I said, I saw this story. Where do you bring children like this? And he gave me some emergency shelter names. And I called and I asked if I could come and read to these children at night, if that would be allowed. And they said yes. Now, this was more than 20 years ago. This was before 9/11. And after 9/11, things got, much tighter for obvious and good, safe reasons. So at the time, I was welcomed in and I brought a whole bunch of children's books. I was so excited. I went in after work in my corporate business suit, not prepared for what I would witness. And they showed me to a room that was very bare and had no chairs for adults, just a couple of little kids' chairs. And so I sat on the floor and the rug was old and, it wasn't decorated at all. And before I knew it, there were a lineup of about 12 children that they were bringing in who sat on the floor with me, little kids. And they were silent. I could see that they were traumatized. I could see that their clothes were dirty and soiled and they didn't fit them right. And, all I could think of was, oh my gosh, I was not prepared. I can't imagine what they've been through. But I started reading, and for about 45 minutes, I read, and they were silent, just staring at me. Some of them were crying. So, yeah, I know. It was not, I just was not aware, and I'm embarrassed to say, I just was not aware. And so I would go week after week, and there would be different children, emergency situations. And one night, for some reason, before I left, I followed to where they were taking the children to go to sleep. And I peered in, and it was an equally bare room. And they were huddled together, some of the kids, and they were in the same clothes. And you could see them wiggling around. They weren't comfortable. They were afraid. And I stared, and the visions of my mom at our bedtime, of the love and the hugs and the stories and the singing and the reading and the pajamas and the snacks and the more snacks, please.
Right.
And what came out of my mouth was to the staff person, can I bring pajamas next time? That to me stood out. How could these children sleep well? They're afraid. They can't even get comfortable. Nice warm pajamas, a little something to help them. That's what came out of my mouth. So the next week I brought the pajamas. I was given the okay. And after I read to the children, I started handing them out. I put them out on display and then I started handing them out. And the children took them one by one, went with the caregiver to the other room to sleep. And one little girl was so afraid of me, she just kept backing up when I tried to give her a pair. She saw them on the table and she looked at me, but she kept shaking her head, no, no, no. And she watched me give them to the other kids. She was curious. And finally, when she was the only one without pajamas, I went back over to her and I knelt down in front of her and I said, honey, these are for you. And they're pink and you have pink in your shirt and they'll fit you. Look, they're your right size and you can keep them. You never have to give them back. You can wear them whenever you want. Don't you want your pajamas? And she looked at me and she said, what are pajamas? What
Wow.
are these? And it broke my heart in a million pieces. And I had to explain to a little girl and keep it together what pajamas were. And the caregiver said, they don't know what pajamas are. They've probably never had them. And it just started this whole whirlwind in me of my heart pulling me, like I couldn't even stop it, pulling me to do more, go there. Meanwhile, I was trying to hold on to a job because I had a mortgage and I had bills and my head was exploding. So that's how what I coined Pajama Program soon after started. And that was over 23 years ago, 24 years ago.
Wow. How long did it actually take you, Genevieve, to go from that moment when your head is swirling to, I mean, when did you quit your job in relation to all of that? Or did you kind of keep doing both things at the same time? Or at some point, did you realize, okay, something has to give here?
All of that at the same time. So I kept my job for as long as I could because two things. I had bills to pay and I was
Right.
running up a lot of expenses
I
of
bet.
books and pajamas. I was lying to all my bosses why I was leaving early, why I was coming in late, why I was taking long lunches, what that
Right.
suitcase was in the closet, which is full of
Yeah.
pajamas. And I was trying to juggle both. And at that time, you weren't free using a cell phone. So I was trying to hide all the calls from the shelters who are now calling me, asking me, when are you coming? Do you have any extra pajamas? And I didn't tell anyone because what do you tell people? I built this career and I'm going to throw it away because it doesn't matter in the scheme of things. And these kids matter. So I don't, oh, the mortgage, I have no idea. My bills, I don't know. I just want to spend all my time shopping and bringing them pajamas and books. So I didn't know what it was. And I felt embarrassed to say the least. I just didn't know what it was. And so I didn't say anything, which of course, dug me in deeper to my
Right.
problems and my juggling. So within a year, I realized because the signals were coming from my bosses that something was wrong. I wasn't being honest. I wasn't doing my job very well. I didn't care. My heart wasn't in it. That something was going to happen. So I started making arrangements to just work part-time if they would allow me to, then take just side jobs. So it became my own worst enemy, juggling, and in my book I say leave juggling to the clowns
That's
because
right.
it is gut-wrenching to
I
do it
bet
the
it
way I did it.
is.
That's a
Yeah.
lesson I teach.
Well, can you intersect your faith in all of this, Genevieve? Hey there, holiday enthusiasts. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the Christmas chaos? We've got the perfect gift for you. Introducing the Ultimate List Making and Survival Kit, your free downloadable Christmas gift from my heart to yours. Are you ready to save time? Need some fresh ideas? Want to savor the season? If you're tired of the holiday hustle, this 40 4-page faith-based survival kit is your answer. Inside, you'll discover tips on time management, event prep, delicious recipes, entertainment ideas, traditions, and so much more. It's your all-in-one solution to make this Christmas truly special. And here's the best part. It's 100% free with absolutely no obligations. A simple Christmas gift for you from me. No strings ever. Merry Christmas and much love, but don't miss out. Click the link in the show notes to grab your free Christmas resource today to enjoy a stress-free season that's filled with joy.
Oh my goodness. I prayed every day, every night. I've written about all my quiet times. I know, and I tell my mother this to this day. She is 88 years old, and I thank her and God, because she taught me, she gave me that image of what bedtime should look like. And I always tell her, I'm just doing God's work. He gave this to me. It's not like I said, oh, I have an idea, God. It's not that at all. And, and I always tell her that because she understands totally about doing God's work. And I always tell her, this was given to me, and there's no way that I would ever not do it to my fullest, although I could have done it a little smarter.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate your transparency. I can't imagine what that must have felt like to try to keep all of this kind of under tap, and then at the same time do what your heart and perhaps the spirit even was leading you to do, to just love on and care for these kids. That would have been really difficult, I think. Did anybody know during that time? I mean, besides the obvious people, like the shelters?
The obvious people didn't know either. The first
Yeah.
person I took a chance on was a colleague, not in my business, but she was also on the same track, to make it. And we were friendly. I guess we were friends, not very close, but I carefully chose her because she would identify with my workaholic mentality.
Right.
She was about my age, but she was at a distance enough that she wouldn't be able to tell anyone that would, fire me or anything.
Right.
So I figured, okay, I rehearsed, but it sounded like what I said to you. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to do my job anymore. I just want to be with kids. And it sounded ridiculous.
Right. Right.
But I said, let me just see, because it's such a nice idea. Who wouldn't want to say, oh, that's nice. You'll figure it out, or I'll help you figure it out maybe. And I said to her exactly what I just said to you. And I was hoping she'd say, that's so nice. Can I come? And she just said, are you crazy? All these years you've built this. What do you think you're really going to do to help them? You're not giving them a house. You're not changing their lives. You're not telling me you're going to take them in and adopt them. Can't you just do this like on a weekend? And it was like, she was like shooting me down, I was just losing it. I was shaking inside because it was what I feared most. And it also challenged me because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a plan. So I clammed up again. And what happened was I met a nice guy, and he figured, if we were together any longer, it'd be really nice to have, 2-income family and whatever. And so I said, let me tell him, because, so I told him I met these kids. I did it. And he looked at me and he said, I think you should go for it.
Wow.
Also an Italian God-praying man who said that. And that was it. And then I told my mom. Then I told my dad. My dad was worried, but my mom said, you will figure it out. And that's the beginning of the breathing that I was able to do again.
I bet. And Genevieve, I'm just so amazed, or not really amazed, but just captivated in the moment from, you've got these two friends. Obviously, one went to be your husband. Do I have that right?
Yes. 25
okay.
years next year.
Oh, yay. Yeah. So you've got this dear girlfriend who you're kind of pitching this idea to and opening up for the first time. And it was just like water in the face almost.
Yes.
And maybe she was just speaking from her own experience, the practical side of things, be safe, don't take the risks. And then you compare that to, or contrast that to, your future husband, this other friend you open up to, and he spoke something so differently over you and kind of just opened this opportunity up, this possibility, and help kind of go with you in that direction. Our words and what we say to people are really powerful, aren't they?
Unbelievable. Yeah, but we have to trust that,
That's
you
right.
know, our purpose is in us and we're meant to do something to make a difference. And if we truly believe that, because sadly, a lot of people don't think they have a purpose, and I teach that we do, every single person does. It's not just lucky people like Einstein and Oprah and, and all kinds of public figures. It's every one of us. And if you don't believe that, then, you laugh when somebody like me says, oh, I met these kids that have changed me. And this little girl, they will look at you like you have six heads.
Yeah. Well, tell me this, what would you say is your purpose? How would you actually articulate that?
I think, it was, I ran Pajama Program as well as I'll always be the founder for 20 years. And I learned in those 20 years, not only was my purpose to comfort these children in a way that was different and new and was so personal to them, but I have been amazed at the number of people that when I tell the story of that little girl, want to do something with me, want to do something for one of or more of these children, because that pain that came through her question and that loneliness and that sadness was unacceptable to me, and is unacceptable to the tens of thousands of people who are part of Pajama Program. So I think my purpose was to bring those people to a place where they could also give
Right.
from a love, a heart place. Financially, yes, that comes along with it, but they had to feel first, that be compelled to want to be part of this solution for these children. And over the years, speaking and just helping, coaching, mentoring other people to find their purpose, because that story that I told you is not a story that people just wake up and say, I think I'm going to, do this and everything is going to work out. It came with a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of panic, but a lot of inspiration. And that's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm saying my part two purpose is to take all the lessons I learned of purpose and human connection and heart voice and inspire other people to take that chance. And, I had help from COVID. One of the things that we all learned was a good thing, that we need each other, that we need purpose, that we need joy in our lives, and that just waking up and going to a job is not enough anymore.
What would you say, Genevieve, has been the biggest struggle point for you along the way? And say in that part one purpose, what did give you those panic moments?
Well, the overall worry that I wasn't doing enough, because I think whenever we're engaged in helping someone, that's our worry, right? I'm doing everything I can, but is it enough? Is it making a difference? Is the person better? Can I be there when they really need me? Am I really reaching them to make a difference, right? We all worry about that. So I worried about that because I knew, I'd been told, but I also knew instinctively, just like you would, so many people have already let them down, these children. And I said, I am never going to be one of those people that just doesn't come back. So that kept me up at night. Also, the whole time of not telling anyone and not asking for help, that really set me back. And once I started to open up and not just tell people who the right people would said, oh, that's lovely, go for it. I needed to ask for help. I needed to ask for attorneys to help me figure this out, CPAs to help me budget everything, keep it all under IRS, rules and regulations. I needed to build this responsibly. It's a challenge to build anything responsibly, but I knew nothing about what it took to open. I didn't even know I was doing a nonprofit organization before I found out, what a 501c3 was. So asking for help, and I think a lot of us suffer from that. It's a fear, but it's also an embarrassment, I think, that we have to ask for help. Especially, I thought, I was 12 years and as VP marketing, and people are going to look at me and say, you don't even know, what to do next step. And I didn't.
Mm. And somehow you had the courage and the boldness to keep going. What is that made of?
Moxie. I say faith and Moxie. And so my second book of how to start your own nonprofit is Purpose, Passion, and Moxie. Because
Yes.
first you have to have faith. And we learn that how faith is a pillar of whatever we need to do. We have to rely on faith. We have to believe that God gave us a purpose and that this is it. And we have to take chances and believe that there's, the safety net of at least faith. I fell through that safety net a bunch of times. I made lots of mistakes financially and otherwise, but I had the faith to figure it out and try to fix it along the way. And, you just have to have that perseverance, that Moxie, and that faith.
Mm-hmm. When I saw your book title, the second book title, I'm like, Moxie, Moxie. And I thought, how do I pronounce that? Is it really Moxie? I'm not sure. I think I'd heard of it, but I wasn't exactly sure. So I was looking it up and everything. But can you explain to everyone, you've kind of hinted at it, but what is Moxie and why do we need it?
It's an old-fashioned word. I always loved it and thought nobody uses it enough. There is a Coca-Cola. It's not a Coca-Cola drink, but it is a cola drink, sort of. But it has a bite to it. And they used to sell it in more places. They still sell it in Massachusetts. I forget which big company bought it over, but it's an acquired taste because there's a bite to it. And I think it's never letting go. It's regardless of fear, moving forward and just accepting what comes in and just getting to where you want to get to that goal, whatever it takes. And it's basically what's in you to pick yourself up if you fall down. It's to dare to reach a goal that when I said to that friend of mine, what I'm going to do, if I told her my goal of reaching all the children in the New York area, she would have laughed, but that was my goal. And now 7.5 million pairs of pajamas and books later in the entire US. But you have to just turn a deaf ear to common sense. And you just have to say, this is what I believe, this is what I want. And I think I have this, I know I have the strength and I have a big guy behind me.
That's right. I gotcha. Well, you mentioned a moment ago, part one purpose and part two purpose. Can you kind of connect the dots there for us?
Yeah, I think part one was to get this pajama program done, to start this movement so that others would continue it, to get it up to a point where it was established and people loved it, because I saw the next part is to go and speak and teach about purpose for everyone. Everyone has a purpose and contributing to the greater good and inspiring people to really find what they love to do and show them how the human connection will not fail them when they are brave enough to share what they want to do and share their love of something. And, I stand there and I say, I never thought I'd be here. If you would have told me a year before that this corporate executive who didn't even having her own family in her plans was, the founder of this national organization about giving children pajamas, I would have said, you're crazy. So if you have an idea, you have to believe it's possible. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So I'm hoping my part two is to inspire other people to make a change, and I always say, people said for years, and before I started Pajama Program, I thought the same thing. Look at the power of one. Look at your idea. Look what you did. But you know what? It's not the power of one. I know it's the power of one another that moves mountains and moves people. I've seen it. And so I stand there and I can say that honestly. And I know that's the truth.
Yeah, so inspiring, Genevieve. I just love it. And, as you were talking too, I kept thinking of the scripture verse that true religion is to take care of widows and orphans in their distress. And that's just a little snippet or a paraphrase in James, I think. But, that's what you're doing. And as I think about it, it's in a way hard to really get my mind around that, kind of like you just explained. Who would have ever thought that this little incident in my life, this question, this desire to reach out and help these children just locally at one spot, you started at one place, would have ever evolved to something on this kind of a scale. And what a great lesson for us, because I'm wondering, is there one listener, one viewer in the audience who would say, wow, God placed this idea in my heart, and I'm going to connect with Genevieve and see what I can do to get this ball rolling. Or if she can do it, I can do it. Or with God, nothing is impossible. So what a wonderful story. It's wonderful because it's your success, but it's also wonderful because it is helping. And everyone's heart breaks when we hear that question, what are pajamas? We can all relate to that. So it's wonderful on both accounts. And we really do applaud you. And I thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can reach you, how they can support the Pajama Program, and how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. And I want to say one of my favorite lines is, for me, I had faith the size of a mustard seed when I started. And I always loved that, even before I knew Pajama Program was in my future. And it really just came back to me, one day while I was doing this, and I was afraid, and I remembered just a little faith, just have a little faith to start. And boy, has it grown. So
wow.
That's something that everyone can think about. That's all you need. That's all you need to start.
Teeny.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
So you can reach me at GenevievePiturro.com. Reach out to me there. You can see my work there. And Pajama Program is pajamaprogram.org, O-R-G. And of course, on social media, I'm on everywhere.
And go ahead and give the title of both your books again, and where we can reach those.
The first one is The Journey, the ups and downs. And like you said, very honest, it's Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas. And the second one is How to Start a Nonprofit. And it's called Purpose, Passion, and Moxie.
Yeah, there's our Moxie.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Genevieve, for coming on the show. And we'll be sure and put the links to your website as well as to the books in the show notes or the description. So thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. And listen, if you like what you hear, would you leave us a 1 to 2 sentence review at Apple Podcasts? Share the link with a friend or tag me on your share on social media. It would mean the world to me and would help us to keep shining the light of Christ and sharing the good news to others who are in need of encouragement. Please visit us on our website at choosetothinc.co. That's with the number 2, choosetothinc.co, to get on our monthly newsletter list. And if you need a guest speaker for your next women's retreat or church event, I'm your gal. Email me at choosetothinc@gmail.com, and that's with the number 2, choosetothinc@gmail.com. Finally, I offer limited free mentoring sessions each month where you and I can chat to help you develop a strategy for your thoughts in any area of your life. I'm a certified life coach and I have something to share. Visit choosetothinc.co and click on mentoring for more details. Also, keep in mind that the messages on this show are for informational and educational purposes only. Please consult your medical doctor for all medical issues. Thank you again for tuning in. God bless you.